to think that name sounds a little bit familiar. Sherwood Baptist Church. Out of that church, that ministry has produced movies like Flywheel, Facing the Giants, Fireproof, and Courageous. And but we're going to welcome Pastor Michael Catt to the program to talk about Heart Cry for Revival. Pastor Catt, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
Hey, Michael, Tim here with Ed. Were you in Albany today?
I'm in Albany, and the last I checked, there's no white smoke coming out of the top of the church. So
No?
I think we're good.
Okay.
You don't want white smoke or black smoke coming out of the top of your church, do you?
No.
Yeah, if any smoke at all is coming out of a Baptist church, then it's
Call
not
the fire department.
It's not the election of a leader.
I've always wondered, did the pulpit committee all dress up in those robes when they were meeting to figure me out?
Oh, yeah. I don't think so. Somehow, I don't think so.
I wouldn't want that job. I know that.
No, absolutely not. Hey, Michael, let's, by the way, before we get into this Heart Cry for Revival conference coming up at the Cove in a few weeks, talk about you guys working on another movie?
No, not right now. Our guys are still busy with just the stuff that's going on with Courageous and doing a lot of traveling and speaking. And Alex and Stephen have been working on another book, and so we're in a much needed break.
Yeah, were y'all doing one every 2 years for a while there?
We were, but that's with all that we've got going on, and with our refresh conferences, and we're in a whole building campaign right now, and everything else is just we needed to step back and take a breath a little bit.
Yeah, I understand. So, one other question about that: the actors that were in these movies that you guys did, with the exception of Kirk Cameron, were they all local?
No, most of them were, but in Courageous, Javier, Robert Amaya wasn't.
Yes.
There were 4 or 5 in Courageous that are part-time actors, or they've just done small movies. T.C. Stallings, who played the gang leader, Angie Nelson, who played the wife of Javier, Ken Bevel's wife in the movie, Harriet. Those were all people outside the church that we discovered. Rusty Martin, who played the little boy, were people outside the church that we found.
Gotcha.
Hey, Michael, just to kind of follow up a little bit on that, you're mentioning that the guys are still doing things connected with Courageous. That movie has really had, you talk about ripples on a pond. I mean, that movie continues to touch lives. What kind of things are they continuing to do in the aftermath? That movie is 2 years ago?
I think so. Yeah,
okay.
I think so. A lot of speaking at men's events and some work overseas in Ecuador and Panama and some other countries where it's just really taken off. So there've been a lot of the guys. Robert has, Kevin Downs, a lot of those guys have been really all over the country, Canada, Mexico, South America, just traveling and speaking and showing up at men's events and things like that. So their plate's pretty full right now.
We're talking to Pastor Michael Catt, and let's talk about this Heart Cry for Revival conference coming up. Why are you a part of this?
Well, I mean, my DNA is for revival. I was mentored under Vance Havner for the last 15 years of his life, and he poured into me and just put that DNA inside of me. Is saved in the Jesus movement. And I just believe that the only hope for America is a great awakening. I mean, we're going to have a move of God to stem the tide that we're on right now. And these ministries that are coming together for Heart Cry are just ministries that I believe in. I've had the privilege of being alongside with most of these men, with Sammy Tippett and Richard Owen Roberts and Dave Butts and Kyle Martin and Byron Paulus and others with Life Action and other ministries. And I just, there's a common heart here that we're not going to fix this with a government bailout. We're not going to fix this with man-made programs. God's going to have to send revival, and that starts in the church. We haven't seen one. I mean, those saved in the Jesus movement saw some evidence of one, but nothing like the revivals that happened for the first 2,000 years in Christendom. We've not seen anything like that in America in over 100 years.
Was that the Second Great Awakening you're talking about?
Well, yeah, First Great Awakening, Second Great Awakening, even the Welsh revival in 1904, the Hebrides revival with Duncan Campbell in the 1940s and 50s. We've seen nothing like that. We have no one living today in America that has seen a great awakening of God.
And by great awakening, you're differentiating between, as you mentioned, just periods where people get saved in greater numbers, like the Jesus movement, or a particular age group that seems to come to Christ. You're talking about great awakenings that change the foundations of the country and change the fabric of society and culture. And Michael, when you talk about what's happening in this country and the necessity of this kind of great awakening for America to change course and return to its foundational principles, the need is becoming so evident and so quickly. We often talk about in this program the fact that in the last 5 years, even maybe the last 10 as well, the dramatic, shocking changes to the way people believe about certain matters and certain issues. It really is staggering how much America has changed in just a short amount of time.
And the spiritual confusion.
Confusion, and so it is becoming so much more clear, I think, to church leaders that we are in serious trouble.
Well, Duncan Campbell said to a friend of mine years ago who got to spend some time with him, he said, "It seems the American church has everything except God." And I think there's a lot of truth to that. We've got technology and we've got programs and methods, but you could just walk into a lot of churches and you wonder, does the Spirit of God even know the address of this church? I mean, they're dead, they're lifeless, they're all aging and dying, and you look for pockets of life, and you find very few of them. I mean, there are some things. There was a great meeting in Reno, Nevada, 2 weeks ago, and people from across denominational lines, across ministry lines, parachurch and church groups got together and just saw a great work of God there. And then there's another one in Des Moines, Iowa, and you're seeing some pockets of this, but the difference is revival and awakening changes the culture. Not only people get swept into the kingdom in mass numbers, like the Welsh revival in 1904, 100,000 people were saved in less than 9 months, which is huge considering the population at that time. But, I mean, all the things, the end of slavery, the child labor laws, all of those things were outgrowths of the Second Great Awakening. And I think we know the mess we're in. What we've got to figure out is how we can get our churches to be burdened for revival rather than just shrugging their shoulders. The fire's got to fall at the church before it can ever burn the impurity out of the culture.
Talking to Pastor Michael Catt, C-A-T-T. He's a senior pastor at the Sherwood Baptist Church in Albany, Georgia, and he's going to be one of the speakers at the Heart Cry for Revival Conference, which is about what he's been discussing here the last few minutes. How do we foster this kind of revival across our country? And this is Monday. What is this? When is this?
April 22nd through the 25th.
Okay, and is at the Cove?
It's at the Cove, which, if you've never been there, it may have been where Paul went for his third heaven experience. It's just incredible, because you can get away and get away from the world, and it's just first-class facilities, and they've got a great lineup of people that are going to be speaking and seminars and workshops for pastors, and I just I was a part of this in 2009. We've been helping to sponsor it as a church.
Yeah.
Since then, it's a strong conference.
And this is the Billy Graham Training Center at the Cove
Right.
in
Right.
Asheville, North Carolina.
Right.
What's the? How do you get more information on this event?
It's heart-cryforrevival.org.
Heart-cryforrevival.org.
That's the website.
That's the website.
I couldn't agree with you more. We couldn't agree with you more here, Michael. That we need to see this kind of national revival in America. Or quite frankly, the chances are good that we're going down the tubes of history.
That's the path we're on.
Yeah.
That is definitely
Can
the
you go
path
down
we're on.
tubes or just a tube?
Well,
Huh? But anyway,
yeah,
you get the
a
idea.
tube
Well,
seems to make
the one
the
thing
passage
that
faster.
I think that people forget is you don't have to miss living in revival, which I would define revival as the life of Christ at the fullest event. The Spirit-filled life, whatever you want to call it. You don't have to miss personal revival because corporate revival is not going on. You can't control everybody else, but you can control you. One of the great revivalists of the past said, draw a circle around yourself and pray. Everybody within this circle needs revival.
You know, you may have studied the Great Awakenings. I just, on a very surfacey level, have. Let me ask you a question. This may sound like an odd question, but were people actually praying for revival, or were they, like you just suggested, praying for personal revival, and then God just seemed to drop fire on certain places? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes. Well, in most of them, there were two things that happened. There began to be a burden for the spiritual condition of a church, of a community, and there was a return to the preaching of the Word of God without apology. The first Great Awakening, it's known by Jonathan Edwards and his preaching of the sinners in the hands of the angry God. With the second Great Awakening, it started with prayer meetings among businessmen at noon in New York City, and in a matter of weeks, hundreds and hundreds were coming to these prayer meetings. A story is told of a battleship that was coming into the port in New York, and the Spirit of God was so heavy in New York City that they sent messages to come out and tell them how to be saved, because there was such a presence of God in New York City, they were afraid to bring the ship into port.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's when God's working.
Yeah. Well, Michael, listen, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it very much. And
Well, honored to be on, and I enjoyed being on early, just listening to you guys talk.
Well, appreciate it, and appreciate what you guys are doing there at the church with your outreach and your movies and all that. And we'll look forward to talking to you again sometime real soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks, Ed.
All right. Pastor Michael Catt, C-A-T-T, Catt, I guess is the way he pronounces his name. Senior pastor, Sherwood Baptist Church in Albany, Georgia. God, bring it.
Yeah, and you know what he was talking about? You can't manufacture that.
No, I know.
That is God.
You can pray
showing
for
up.
it.
You can pray for it.
You can pray for it, but only God can do what God can do.
Right. That's right. I'm glad for that too.
And seriously, I think that we're going to have to see a move of God across this land that we're all hoping and praying for, in order to save us from ourselves.
Yes.
Because we are definitely, in many respects, headed in the wrong direction here in America. And, just for the selfish reasons of the sake of my children and grandchildren.
Right.
And yours, Ed, we don't want to see America go into the waste bin of history. All right, we'll be back. A fella who worships Satan now worships Jesus, and he's going to be with us after the break.